My name is Sahil and I'm a fourth year CS undergrad student. I'm placed in SHAIL, and before that I've done an internship in Deutsche Telekom Digital Labs as a software engineer, and I've also worked as a teaching assistant with Coding Ninjas. So you want to start by giving him a brute force solution. So first of all, when you give him a brute force solution, then he would ask you to optimize it after that. So after not studying the entire semester, at the end I got a CGPA of 6.2. So basically, when my peers were getting more CGPA than me, now that hurt me a lot because I remember that they didn't used to study at all. So I make solution videos of these lead code questions, and I've also have some funny interviews of my college life.
Welcome again to Placement Experience Journey brought to you by Upscale Talks. So continuing ahead with the series, we now have someone from SHAIL. So Sahil is currently placed at SHAIL as a software development engineer as a full-time employee. So hi Sahil, can you just tell us about yourself, your journey? We are excited to hear about that.
Alright, so hi Archit. So my name is Sahil and I'm a fourth year CS undergrad student in Amity University, Noida. So I'm placed in SHAIL, and before that I've done an internship with Deutsche Telekom Digital Labs as a software engineer, and I've also worked as a teaching assistant with Coding Ninjas. So yeah, that's about it. So that is my short introduction that I would give to a lot of people. So yeah.
Okay, so I think we can, just try to grasp more out of your short introduction throughout the course of this video. So, right, moving ahead, and now can you just tell us some insights about SHAIL, or, what actually does it do and about your role? So can you just give us brief on that?
Okay, so SHAIL is a product-based company and it is ranked as 5 on the Fortune 500 list. So basically, SHAIL is an energy resource company. So it deals in different renewable and non-renewable resources, and it provides petroleum and different solar energies to its vendors across the globe. So it is a multinational company and it is present all over the world and supplies these energy in over 70 countries. Right.
Okay, so I think now we can, just move ahead and let's just talk about the SHAIL's placement process. Given that, can you just list out what actually do you remember out of the interview? Because I think that happened quite long back. So if you can just recall some of the questions out of interviews, that would be more engaging for our audience and be more helpful.
Sure. Okay, so around November, SHAIL came to our campus, and after their PPT, they had 3 rounds placed for us. So the first round was actually an online test round, and in this online test, they first of all had this test hosted on the Metal platform. So there was like a camera and mic installed, and it was on for the entirety of the test. So it was not like that you could cheat on that test. So it was hosted on Metal first of all. Now the test was 3 hours long, and it comprises of over 4 sections. So the first section was having SQL questions. So SQL is structured query language, and it had one question on SQL. Then there was another section in which there were some basic technical questions about different programming concepts. Also, for example, object-oriented programming, and also it had some MCQ questions about DBMS, OS, and compiler as well. So these are some of the subjects whose MCQ questions that were asked in this section. Then we had a third section which tested your aptitude skills, right? So it had logical reasoning questions and also some quants questions. And the last section was on data structures and algorithms. So now this section also comprised of 2 to 3 DSA problems. The level of these DSA problems were easy, medium problems, and yeah. So that was about the first online test that we had. This was the first round, and the people who got through this round, they went to another round, and that was a one-on-one interview. This was a technical round, and in this round, it was basically a technical round. So the interviewer asked me first of all to introduce myself. After that, when he made me comfortable and he started the interview and he started asking me some technical questions on the different subjects that you read, that you study about during your 4 years of BTech. Since I am from a CS background, I have done my BTech in CS. All of these subjects I was studying them during my 4 years of BTech, so they were easy for me to answer. But if a person who is from a mechanical background, then he would have to learn them separately, because that is not taught to him in his curriculum. Right. So he asked me about different OS. He asked me 2 to 3 OS questions, and after that he gave me a DSA problem to solve. So he gave me a DSA problem, and he wanted me to open a Word document, or he said if you could open an ID, that would also work. And I had to code that solution for him. After that, he wanted me to optimize that code, and after reducing its time complexity, also improving its space complexity, he was happy with it, and he pretty much moved on to the next part of the interview. So in the next part of the interview, he was focusing more on my internships that I have done and what all projects that I have done till now. So he was particularly asking me about my internship with Deutsche Telekom Digital Labs, because Deutsche Telekom Digital Labs is one of the subsidiaries of Shell. So they already had a connection with Shell. So they were interested in what work I have done with Deutsche Telekom Digital Labs. So since I had just done my internship with them in the summers, the concepts were pretty much clear in my brain. I had still the access of the different projects that I had done in that company. So I was pretty much able to show them everything that I had done during that internship. In depth, I would able to do that. And also, I feel that in technical interviews, if you focus too much on your project and you don't stop talking, and you go into depth into your projects, then it makes a really good impression on the interviewer, and it does not allow the interviewer to ask you some different questions or test your different technical knowledge. He only talks about the projects that you have worked on, and since you have worked on these projects, if you really have, you would have immense knowledge on them, and you'll be able to tackle the problem easily, fairly easily. Instead, if you would be discussing about new novel things that you have not heard, then you will have problems with that. So if you focus on your projects too much in an interview, that would be beneficial for you as well, and it certainly was for me. And after that, I had an HR round, and HR round was easy comparatively. So in HR round, he was asking me questions about, tell me a time when you displayed leadership in a group, or tell me a time when you had worked in a group, and tell me a time where basically where do you see yourself in 5 years, that kind of questions, right? So yeah, that was pretty much the entire process of share.
Okay, Sahil, can you? I have a few follow-up questions over here. The first one is that you mentioned that he asked you to code a particular problem. So how important does it become that just don't if you know the question well and you know the optimum solution or the optimized solution. So how important is it that you just code the optimum solution, or you just start with the brute force and then try and drive through the
Yeah.
optimum one?
So actually, what the interviewers test in you is that you have problem solving capabilities. Right? In an interview, he wants to test that. So you want to show to the interviewer that this problem you have not solved before, even if you have. So you have to approach it that this is a new problem for you, and therefore you want to start by giving him a brute force solution. So first of all, when you give him a brute force solution, then he would ask you to optimize it after that. If you give the optimized solution directly, then he might ask you another question on DSA, or maybe he would want you to he would want you to reduce its time complexity even further when you have given him already the optimized solution that you know according to you, right? So if you have optimized the solution from n square to n, then he would ask you maybe to reduce its time complexity more to log n, right? But if you give him the direct solution, if you give him a brute force solution on n square time complexity, and if you optimize it to order of n, then it would make a better impression on the interviewer that you were even able to optimize the solution as well after that, after coding the brute force one.
Okay. So also one more question over here that you mentioned ki you should go in depth about the projects, but a lot of viewers watching this video might not have that feasibility of doing a particular project. So how important does it become to choose the right project, and how should you go about doing that?
Okay, so even if you have not done a lot of projects, maybe you would have done any internship over the course of 4 years. So maybe you can talk about your internships and the projects you have done over them, right? So basically, if you're participating in a campus placement, so I don't think that projects make that of a difference, because they basically want to test your DSA skills. And if you have any projects, then it is a plus as compared to in off campus placements, where they particularly want to see if you have worked on any great projects, right? So if you don't have any project till now, I would say that you could start by building some basic projects that you could find on GitHub, or maybe through different online courses which teach you to build some smaller projects. And maybe if you have them on your resume, then it would be better than not having any project on your resume.
Okay, so sure. So I think that answers the question. And given that you were a TA, so can you just guide us through? You have spoken to a lot of people, when you were doing that job. So what actually are the problems, or the pain points of the people who are wanting to pursue these subjects or the software development profile as in? So can you just walk us through what are your experiences and how can you improve on those particular problems?
Okay, so I guess for getting a good software developer job or a software engineer job in tech, you need to develop really good DSA skills. And the problem with learning DSA is that it is really boring, right? So it becomes really difficult to do it every day. And basically, at the end of the day, if you try to solve four questions and you were not able to solve them, so at the end of the day, you will feel that you have not done anything. You won't see that you were able to make this progress at the end of the day. And most students, when they don't see the results quickly, and when they get fed up by trying, and that is when they give up and they don't want to study DSA on a deeper level, and that is why they start looking for non-tech jobs and stuff like that. So if you are consistent, if you focus more, if you do at least 2 to 3 questions every day, then you'll be good. And if you have a very good basic in you have a very good base in data structures and algorithms, I think you'll be good to go and you can get a great job. So I feel where people lack is they don't have the consistency. So once if you start learning DSA, and you learn DSA for around 7 days and 10 days, and after that you get a break in between and you don't revise your concepts. So after that, when you go back to learning new concepts, you won't be able to do it, because in DSA everything stacks on top of each other, right? So but if you don't have the base, you'll have some problems in the end, right? So I would recommend that you do revise and brush up your concepts every day, so that when you go to the advanced levels, you are not you are very familiar with the basics, and you don't feel that you don't know anything that you have learned earlier, so that you are able to solve some difficult questions with the entire knowledge.
Okay, and also when we are just talking about the projects front, I also have a just to add on that, what is your view that if you have done DSA, how important is it to just get on with something other than that, let's say the web development or Android development? So how can these things help you build a better profile when you're appearing for the interviews?
Absolutely. If on top of DSA you have some experience in web development or Android development, and even if you have some experience in machine learning projects, then it is an add-on for your whole holistic profile. It builds a very holistic profile for you. And learning web development once you have done DSA is not that tough. So many of the DSA concepts will get used in web development as well. So not directly, but indirectly. If you have learned Java, then learning or switching to JavaScript is not a big deal for you. So if you have a good foundation in DSA, then you can switch to web development as well. It will help you in web development, and getting a good holistic profile, entering in an interview is always an advantage for you, for sure.
Okay, so perfect. So I think now we are good to, just move on to the next section and let's just talk about your journey to land into the Fortune 5 company. So can you just walk us through how did you start? Because you mentioned that, you're from Amity and there is not a lot of competitive environment wherein we talk about IITs or DTUs or something like that. So how did you just gain that advantage and then started, just ki chalo ab karte hain yaar.
Okay, so when I started my engineering in Amity University, so I thought that the first semester is for me to relax. So even though I didn't study too much in my 11th and 12th, clearly, it was a kind of a break for me. So after not studying the entire semester, at the end I got a CGPA of 6.23. So I remember sitting in the physics exam and I was asking the guy sitting behind me that please show me or let me get passed in this exam. I don't want a back. And if you once I write for 25 marks, I will stand up on my own. I will not bother you even. I will go if I get passed here. So yeah, that was something I look back in retrospect that helped me a lot. When I got a CGPA of 6.23 in my first semester, and everybody else got a better CGPA than me, then I was like, boss, you would have to do a lot of hard work now. You should change everything. So after the first semester, I started with my coding journey. So I wanted to set things straight. So I decided that I will get a good CGPA. So I will be regular in classes. First of all, I will improve my attendance. I will be regular in the classes. I will, because everything you learn in CS, different subjects like OS, DBMS, and compiler, all of these will help you in your interviews when you appear for companies, right? So these subjects that were taught in your curriculum, if you learn throughout your curriculum, then it will be better in your interview preparation as well. So I thought that if I get my CGPA straight, then my technical skills will already improve, right? So I wanted to get my CGPA straight first of all, and since I used, my sister is in D2, just you mentioned that in Amity you don't have a good environment where everybody is collaborating and studying, but actually my sister is from DTU, and she guided me that you should learn DSA as well, because that is the primary importance in interviews if you want to crack a technical interview. So that is when I started my coding journey. So I started off by taking a course by a company. I wouldn't mention the name, but after starting my course, so I learned DSA from that particular organization, and after that I started solving problems on lead code. So I had this funda that I will solve 2 to 3 good questions every day. Uh, and what I mean by that is, on lead code, I would solve medium problems only. So easy problems, everybody is able to solve easy problems and they don't help you a lot. So I said that I will only solve medium problems and 2 to 3 medium problems every day. So what people don't realize, that compounding factor. So if you solve 2 to 3 problems every day, they compound. And after that, at the end of 2 years, if you're solving 2 to 3 problems every day, you will have a great DSA base. And I assure you that if you have solved over 500 questions on lead code, I assure you, you can crack any technical placement. So that was my main motive, that I will not go all out and burn out myself. I won't study like 7 to 8 hours every day with when I was going to college as well. So it was really difficult to manage, but I made sure that I would study at least 3 to 4 hours every day, and I would approach problems. Okay, so let me also talk about how to approach problems when you're solving DSA questions. Right. So what most of the people do is, when they see a different problem on lead code or maybe any website you're studying, so they just look at the solution. They understand the solution. When a guy is teaching you, understand it, and after that they move on to the solving to the next problem. But here, your coding acumen does not get developed at all, because you didn't think that question. You just understood it because that guy is telling you, and you didn't even memorize it. So because you will be solving over 300 to 400 questions over a span of coding in 2 to 3 years, right? So you won't remember each and every concept. So what I advise and what I did myself as well was that I would start a problem. I would think for it for about 20 to 30 minutes. If I'm not able to solve that problem, I would see its solution. And after that, I will code it myself so that it gets entrenched in my mind as well. And after that, I will not move on to the next topic, or I will not move on to the next question, which is totally unrelated to it. I would solve similar problems on that of that question. So if you solve similar problems, they are basically on the same concept, but they have something different in it, right? A little logic in it. There's a different trick in it, and you would have to figure it out, because you have solved the main problem. Now you'll be able to solve the similar problem by using just a little new trick, right? And that is what helps you in your interviews as well, because on the interview day, you wouldn't see a already solved problem. most of the times you'll be solving new problems that you have not seen, but they will be similar to the problems you have solved. Right? If you are solving 300 to 400 questions, they will be similar to them, and you would have to identify that, oh, this is the trick that is going into this question, and you will be able to solve it on that interview day. So these were some of my things that I followed during my preparation, and maybe that's about it for now. If you have any questions, then we can.
Okay, Sahil, for now, I think we can just move on. And you have been in that category. You mentioned कि 6.23 say to cracking shell was a tremendous journey, I believe. So now I think you have been through a lot of that. Also, follow up question कि यार मतलब when you were in the first semester and you thought कि let's retrospect and figure out कि what is the due and what we have to achieve. So what were your pain points? Like how did you try to avoid the distraction? As you mentioned कि you सेट इन माइंड के 2 से 3 क्वेश्चन करने ही करने हैं, कुछ भी हो जाए. बट व्हाट वर द पेन पॉइंट्स? बिकॉज आई बिलीव कि मतलब वहाँ से यहाँ की जर्नी वाज नॉट एट ऑल इजी, राइट?
Yeah. So basically, when my peers were getting more CGPA than me, now that hurt me a lot because I remember that they didn't used to study at all, and me too as well. But still, they got more CGPA than me, and I've and throughout my life, I've always had a friend group in which we were pretty average students, so we didn't perform well. But together, we used to perform badly in exams, so that was fine with me. But when your friends start outperforming, so that is when the problem really becomes. And I am competitive by nature, so I thought that if they can do well, then I can do as well. So my journey started off that I want to get a better CGPA than my friends. After that, when once you, so I believe that motivation comes after you start, right? So after you start, you start liking the thing, and motivation comes, and you then put in your extra effort to get better in it. So that is what happened. I started studying a little, and actually I liked coding, so it
Okay.
worked out for me.
Okay, so I think now we can just move to the next part, and you can, just prepare the roadmap for the students or the viewers watching this if they are in the, let's say, first year, second year, third year. So probably you have been through the same journey and you have a lot of prior experience given that you were, kind of a teaching assistant or in the
Yeah.
similar roles. So can you just prepare the roadmap for the viewers watching?
Okay. So if you're in your first year, so I would advise you to start off by data structures and algorithms. So they're extremely important, and they improve your fundamentals in coding as well. So first of all, you have to start by data structures and algorithms, and that too in your first semester, or maybe if you're second, you can start in the second semester. Then that would be better. It would give you an advantage over other students which will start in their second or maybe third year. So if you start from the first year, the first semester, it would be beneficial for you. So start off by learning data structures and algorithms, and you don't have to focus too much on the theory. So because theory doesn't benefit you too much, you need to know all the concepts, but the interviewer won't ask you much more questions on theories. You would have to solve a question on the interview day. So questions are very important actually. So I would say questions. You have to do a lot of questions. You can probably do these questions on Lead Code, and that is a very good website to start your coding journey. So start off by learning data structures and algorithms, and uh, this is not a sprint race. This is a marathon. So you should do and brush up your data structure skills over a course of 1 year. So I think your first year you should start off and learn your data structures and algorithms. In your second year, if you can get an internship, then that is also good. Or maybe you can start off now working on different projects. Maybe you can start off by learning web development, or maybe if you have interest in machine learning. So in second year, I believe you should start off by building some projects, so that it gives your profile a holistic experience. You make a very holistic resume. So you can start off by working on projects, and maybe if you can get an internship, even if an unpaid internship, I think you should go for it. It will give you a lot of experience, right? And along with that, you will be learning all these technical subjects like object oriented programming. You learn that in DSA only, and DBMS and operating systems. These are some subjects that are taught to you during your fourth year, during your entire course of BTech. if you are not from a computer science background, then I would say that you would have to learn these subjects additionally, because they are asked in the online test or maybe the technical interviews. So you should brush up your skills on these different topics as well, right? So once you have learned DSA, you have one or two projects, and you can then after that start off maybe on a competitive programming if you are aiming for top companies like Google and maybe Microsoft as well. So in Amazon, you would benefit a lot from competitive programming. So because they only ask basic DSA level questions. So, but if you're aiming for Goldman Sachs and all these companies, then I would say that you can dabble a little in online in competitive programming as well, right? That can be done in your third year, but I don't think that it is a compulsory or a necessity. If you have the time, if you have started in your first year, you surely would have the time to do this. But if you would have started in your second year, then I don't think that enough time would be left for you to dabble in competitive programming. So it is on you if you want to dabble in a little in competitive programming, and if you do, then it would only improve your chances of getting into a better company only, right? Then maybe also I would like to suggest that please get your CGPA in order. So when my CGPA was 6.23, I was sure that I wouldn't be allowed to sit in any campus placements, because there is a threshold for these many companies. Like many good companies would want you to have a CGPA of 8 and above, right? So I was fortunate enough to get my CGPA in order. After getting 6.23, I got 9 above CGPA in all the subsequent semesters. But I would advise you to get your CGPA in order from the first semester as well, first semester only, and just keep a CGPA, decent CGPA of 8 and above. It will help you. It will not stop you from sitting in any interview. And maybe if you plan on doing any masters, so it is also a very big criteria. Then, if you plan on doing masters, it is a very big criteria that they judge you on. There's a pillar over there as well. So this is something that you should take care of as well. And what you can do as well is that you can build your rank on different platforms like Code Chef and Lead Code. So when you write that you're a 5-star coder on Code Chef or a 5-star coder on Lead Code or Hacker Rank maybe, then it gives a better impression on the interviewer when you're applying. When you send in your resume and if you have written this, then it gives a better impression as well. All right. So what I would like to suggest you to do is make live projects. So I said that you have to make some projects, but what you can do is that you can make some live projects and put the link of your project that you have hosted maybe on GitHub, or if you have hosted it somewhere else as well, you can put that link in your resume. Because when you send in your resume to any company, be it on campus or off campus, it allows the interviewer or the checker to evaluate your profile. So when you give him the link, he can go to your GitHub account and analyze what amount of technical knowledge you have, and this might work in your favor as well. So I believe if you make projects, try to make them live projects and put them on and host them on some website so that it actually benefits you, because anybody can write that he has done this or that project, and the interviewer might feel that everybody has done this, but he would not be sure about that you have done this, and it would give you an advantage if you put these links. So yeah, that's about it.
Okay, so I think, Sahil, that was a lot of KT sessions from you today. So, thank you very much for taking our time and just recording the session for us. Before we end the session up, you also have your YouTube account. So, can you just tell our viewers about that, and then we can wrap this up?
Okay, so I have a YouTube channel and it's called Do Let's Code. It will not be named that after 2 to 3 days. I'm changing it to Sahil Saluja only. Right. So on this YouTube account, I solve lead code questions. So I make solution videos of this lead code questions, and I also have some funny interviews of my college life lined up over there. So if you want to check that as well, he'll put the link in description, and you can go and check my channel as well, and maybe give it a subscribe.
Sure, Sahil. So, thank you very much for taking our time, and thank you all for watching this. Bye bye. Have a nice day.
I'll be a pleasure. Bye.